They say power is a drug, the kind that makes you believe you're invincible, that with enough money, enough fear, enough control, you can have anything. Anything. Kang Min-jun believed that. Hell, he'd built an empire on it. Blood, money, respect. The man owned half of Seoul, and the other half knew better than to challenge him. But here's the thing about kings. They're only kings until someone refuses to bow. Eclipse, Seoul's most exclusive nightclub. If you're here, you're either powerful, rich, or both. And if you own it, you're untouchable. Kang Min-jun, owner, boss, king of Seoul's underground. Everyone wanted his attention. Everyone got out of his way. Everyone except her. Zara Williams, 26, head bartender at Eclipse, the kind of nightclub where champagne costs more than rent, and everyone who's anyone comes to be seen. She made perfect drinks with perfect efficiency, smiled that professional smile, and moved for Min-jun's world like smoke. There, but not once, looked at her boss. And so it began, an obsession disguised as curiosity. For 3 weeks he watched her, every night, every shift. She served everyone, laughed at their jokes, made eye contact with strangers. But when he walked by, nothing, not a glance, not a flicker. In a city where people crossed the street to avoid his shadow, she was indifferent. And that was unacceptable. This is the story of a man who could kill with a word, brought to his knees by 3. What 3 words could possibly destroy a man who owns everything? Eclipse wasn't just a nightclub, it was a kingdom dressed in gold and crystal, where Seoul's elite came to worship at the altar of excess. The kind of place where a bottle of champagne cost what most people made in a month, and getting past the velvet rope meant you were either powerful, rich, or both. And tonight, like every night, the bass pulsed through the floor like a heartbeat. Bodies moved in designer clothes, laughter sparkled over expensive liquor, and when Kang Min-jun walked through the door, the entire energy shifted. It always did. He moved like a man who'd never been told no. Sharp black suit, tailored to perfection, dark eyes that could strip a person down to their worst secrets. 32 years old and already a legend, the kind of legend people whispered about in back rooms and courtrooms. Drug routes through Busan, politicians in his pocket, competitors who'd made the mistake of challenging him and mysteriously decided retirement sounded nice. His right-hand man, Ji-woo, followed 2 steps behind, loyal as a shadow, deadly as a knife. Women turned. They always turned. A girl in a red dress tried to catch his eye. He didn't even blink. Another actually stepped into his path, all curves and confidence. Ji-woo intercepted her with a look that said, "Don't even think about it," and she wisely retreated. Min-jun didn't come to Eclipse to be approached. He came because he owned it, because watching his empire from the VIP section overlooking the dance floor reminded him exactly who he was. Untouchable. He climbed the stairs to his private booth, the best leader in the house, naturally. Ji-woo poured whiskey without being asked. 3 fingers, no ice. "The shipment from Busan cleared customs," Ji-woo murmured. "Chen wants to renegotiate terms, and the prosecutor's office is sniffing around the warehouse again." Min-jun barely heard him. His attention had snagged on something, someone at the main bar. She wasn't particularly flashy. White shirt, black vest, hair pulled back in a practical bun. But her hands moved like magic, shaking, pouring, garnishing, sliding drinks across the bar with the precision of someone who'd mastered their craft. Zara Williams, his head bartender, 6 months on staff and already the best he'd ever hired.
He'd walked past that bar a dozen times tonight, deliberately, close enough that she should have felt his presence, should have looked up like every other woman in the vicinity did. She hadn't. Not once. And Min-jun, who could read a man's fear in the twitch of his eye, who'd built an empire on understanding exactly how to break people, had absolutely no idea what was happening. Was she playing hard to get? No, that involved acknowledging someone existed first. Was she afraid? She didn't seem afraid, just indifferent. Was she blind? Clearly not. She navigated the bar perfectly. She simply didn't see him, and that was something worse than fear, worse than hatred, worse than anything. From his VIP section, Ji-woo watched his boss's frustration mount and wisely said nothing. But he was thinking plenty.
Min-jun's office overlooked the club like a god's view of the mortal world below. Floor-to-ceiling windows, soundproofed glass, and 6 security monitors that usually rotated through entrance points, VIP sections, and cash registers. Tonight, all 6 screens showed the same thing. Her. Camera 1, wide shot of the main bar. Camera 2, close-up of her hands making drinks. Camera 3, profile angle. Camera 4, over-the-shoulder view of customers she was serving. Cameras 5 and 6, alternate angles, just in case he missed something. He'd been watching for 3 hours. Ji-woo entered without knocking, the only person alive who had that privilege, and stopped dead when he saw the screens. Boss? Min-jun didn't look away. On camera 2, Zarah was laughing at something a customer said. Genuine laugh. Her whole face lit up. For someone else. You've been at the bar more than your office this month. I own the bar. I can be wherever I want. True. Ji-woo poured himself a drink uninvited, another privilege. But you usually let me manage the club while you handle actual business. Busan, the politicians, She hasn't looked at me once. The words came out flat, factual, like he was reporting on a stock price. Ji-woo paused mid-pour. Sir? 21 days, Ji-woo. 21 days, not once. Min-jun finally turned from the screens, and his second-in-command was startled to see genuine confusion on his boss's face. Everyone looks at me. Everyone. The women who want me, the men who fear me, even the ones who hate me, they still see me. But her? He gestured at the screens where Zarah was efficiently serving a group of businessmen. Watch this. Min-jun rewound the footage, pointed. 7:43 p.m. I walk past the bar. See? Right there. On screen, his past self moved through the club. Every woman in frame turned. The bartender to Zara's left glanced over. Even a waitress in the background paused. Zarah kept making her drink, didn't even blink. Could be coincidence, Ji-woo offered. Min-jun fast-forwarded. 8:15, I'm sitting at the bar, third stool from the left. She takes my order. They watched. Zarah approached, smiled politely at Min-jun's chest area, took his order, walked away. 8:47, she brings the drink. Watch her eyes. On camera, Zarah set down the glass. Her gaze tracked from the glass to the bar surface, to Min-jun's shoulder, to the customer waiting 3 seats down. Perfect professional choreography. Never met his eyes. Could be nerves, Ji-woo tried. Then explained this. Min-jun pulled up a different timestamp. Split screen now. I counted. Tonight alone, she looked at 47 different customers, made eye contact, smiled, engaged. 47. He pulled up footage of himself at the bar. And me? 0. Ji-woo studied the screens, then his boss. Maybe she's smart. Min-jun's head snapped toward him. What? Smart enough to know that looking at you is dangerous, that getting your attention is a bad idea. Most people in this city would kill to be invisible to you, boss. Maybe she's just what? Trying to stay alive. The words hung in the air. Min-jun turned back to the screens where Zarah was closing out a tab, laughing at something a customer said, being perfectly, maddeningly normal. Find out everything about her. Sir? Everything. Where she's from, where she lives, what she did before Eclipse, who she talks to, what she's hiding. Min-jun's voice had that edge now, the one that made smart people obey quickly. I want a full background check by tomorrow morning. Ji-woo hesitated. Boss, with respect, this seems necessary. Min-jun cut him off, eyes still fixed on the woman who refused to see him. She's not being polite, she's not being shy. This is deliberate, and I need to know why. On screen, Zarah wiped down her station, efficient and invisible. Min-jun leaned back in his chair, jaw set. Nobody's that good at being nobody without a reason. The file landed on Min-jun's desk at 6 a.m. He hadn't slept, hadn't even tried, just sat in his penthouse with a glass of whiskey he never drank, watching the city wake up and wondering why a bartender had gotten under his skin like a splinter he couldn't extract. Ji-woo looked worse than usual, eyes red, tie loose, the expression of a man who'd spent all night pulling strings and hadn't liked what he'd found. Well, Zara Williams, 26, born in Chicago, moved to Seoul 6 months ago, work visa, clean record, excellent references from 3 previous bartending jobs in the States. Min-jun waited. There was always a but with Ji-woo's tone. But Zara Williams didn't exist 7 months ago. That got his attention. Min-jun opened the file. Standard documentation, social security number, passport, previous addresses. Everything looked legitimate. Too legitimate. I had our guy in the States dig deeper. The references? All real businesses, all confirmed she worked there, but when he tried to go back further than 2 years, he hit a wall. No college records, no high school, no childhood medical files, nothing. She's using a false identity. A very good false identity, professional level, the kind that costs serious money or requires government assistance. Ji-woo pulled out another sheet. Then I found the markers. What markers? Witness protection, buried deep, but they're there. The documentation style, the way her background was constructed. She didn't just change her name, she was given a new life. Min-jun studied the file photo from her work visa application. Professional headshot, Zarah smiling pleasantly at the camera. Beautiful, but unremarkable. Standard corporate photo. Then he pulled up a screenshot from last night's security footage. Same woman, same face, completely different eyes. In the work visa photo, there was something, a spark, a presence, a there-ness. In the security footage, she looked softer, blurrier, like she deliberately filed down her edges until she could slip through the world unnoticed. She's not being invisible because she's shy, Min-jun said slowly. She's being invisible because someone taught her to be. Or because someone's looking for her. Ji-woo leaned against the desk. Boss, whoever she testified against, whoever she's running from, they're dangerous enough that the U.S. government gave her a new identity. That's not small time. That's organized crime. That's people with resources. Min-jun's mind was already racing. The way she never made eye contact, never stood out, never drew attention. It wasn't personal. It wasn't about him. It was survival. She comes to Seoul, he murmured, thinking out loud. Far from the States, changes everything, gets a job where she can blend in, be around people but not be seen. She's good at her job but not too good, friendly but forgettable. She's built herself a life where she's invisible, Ji-woo finished. And then you show up, the most visible man in Seoul, watching her, drawing attention to her. The implication hit like a fist. Every time Min-jun sat at that bar, every time he tried to get her attention, every security camera pointed her direction, he was making her visible. He was making her a target. Find out what she witnessed, who she testified against, what she's running from. Min-jun's voice had that edge now, the one that made smart people obey quickly. I need to know what's coming. And if something is coming? Min-jun looked at the surveillance photo again. Zarah wiping down the bar, head down, invisible. Min-jun leaned back in his chair, jaw set. Then she's going to need protection whether she wants it or not. Ji-woo recognized that tone. It was the same one his boss used before going to war. This isn't just curiosity anymore, is it? Min-jun didn't answer, but his silence was answer enough.
The back-of-house area of Eclipse was a different world. Harsh fluorescent lights instead of romantic gold, concrete floors instead of marble, the glamour stripped away to reveal the machinery underneath, kegs, inventory shelves, time clocks, and a small break room with a coffee maker that barely worked. Zarah was restocking garnish containers when Maya cornered her. "Girl, we need to talk." Maya Chen had been at Eclipse for 3 years, server, occasional bartender backup, and the closest thing Zarah had to a friend in Seoul, which wasn't saying much. Zarah didn't do friends. Friends meant questions. Questions meant stories. Stories meant lies that could unravel. "I'm kind of busy, Maya." "Yeah, I can see that, cutting limes like they personally offended you." Maya crossed her arms. "Do you know who you're ignoring?" Zara's knife stilled for just a second. "I don't ignore anyone. I serve everyone equally." "You serve them, sure, but you don't look at him, at Mr. Kang, and everyone's noticed." The knife slipped just a fraction. Zarah caught it before it could do damage, but her hands, her steady, reliable bartender hands, shook slightly. Maya saw it. Her expression softened. "Zarah, honey, what's going on? You've been here 6 months and you're the best bartender we've got, but the boss has been at that bar almost every night for 3 weeks, and you act like he's furniture." "I'm being professional." "Professional is acknowledging your boss when he speaks to you. This is something else." "Lower your voice." "Men like him don't like being avoided. It makes them curious, and curious men with power, they dig." Zara's hands were definitely shaking now. She put down the knife before Maya could see it get worse. "Then I'll quit." "And go where? You think quitting won't make it worse? Now you're not just avoiding him, you're running from him. That's like waving a red flag at a bull." "I can find another job, another city. I've done it before." "Have you?" Maya studied in her friend's face. "Because I've been watching you for 6 months, and you know what I see? Someone who's really, really good at being nobody, like unnaturally good. And now the most dangerous man in Seoul is trying to figure out why." Zarah leaned against the metal shelving, suddenly exhausted. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the distance, bass from the club pulsed through the walls. "When I was 19, I saw something I shouldn't have. Wrong place, wrong time. They told me I had 2 choices, testify or die. So I testified. And then they told me, never stand out, never be remembered, never be seen." Maya's eyes widened. "Witness protection?" "Was, past tense. I aged out of the program 2 years ago, but the people I testified against, they don't age out, they don't forget. So I learned to be forgettable." "Zarah, I was taught that being noticed gets you killed, Maya, so I learned to look at nothing, to see nothing, to be nothing. It kept me alive in Chicago, then Denver, then San Francisco, and now here. Her voice cracked slightly. I see nothing, I know nothing, I survive. That's it. That's all I know how to do. The confession hung in the stale air between them. Maya reached out and squeezed her friend's hand. And now you've got a mafia boss trying to make you see him. I know. What are you going to do? Zara looked at the walls closing in around her, at the exit door that led to the alley, at the time clock that proved she existed. I don't know, but whatever I do, it won't be enough. It never is. Min-jun told himself he just wanted to see how she'd handle pressure. That's all. A simple test of her competence under stress, not because he wanted an excuse to intervene, not because watching her from security cameras wasn't enough anymore. Definitely not because he needed to be her hero. The drunk customer was one of his lower-level guys. Good actor, obnoxious enough to be believable, but smart enough to not actually hurt anyone. The instructions were simple. Harass the bartender, escalate slowly, see how she reacts. What Min-jun didn't account for was how much he'd hate watching it happen. It started innocently enough. The guy, Sung-ho, leaned over the bar around 11 p.m. Hey, sweetheart, how about you make me something special? Zara's professional smile never wavered. Of course. What do you like? Whiskey? Vodka? I like you, Sung-ho grinned sloppily. How about you come out behind that bar and sit with me? I'm flattered, but I'm working. Let me get you that drink. She turned away. Sung-ho grabbed her wrist. From the VIP section, Min-jun's entire body went rigid. Ji-hoo noticed, glanced at the security team stationed near the bar. They hadn't moved. They were under orders to wait. This was supposed to be a test, so why did Min-jun's hands curl into fists? I said I want you to sit with me. Sung-ho's voice got louder. People started noticing. Zara's expression remained calm, professional, but Min-jun saw the way her free hand moved behind the bar, probably reaching for the panic button every bartender had. Sir, I'm going to need you to let go of my wrist and leave. Her voice was steady, firm. You've had enough to drink tonight. I'll decide when I've had enough. He yanked. She resisted. The bar went from curious to concerned. And then Sung-ho raised his other hand. Min-jun moved. He didn't remember descending the stairs, didn't remember crossing the floor. 1 second he was in the VIP section telling himself this was fine, this was controlled, and the next his hand was wrapped around Sung-ho's throat, lifting the man slightly off his feet. The music didn't stop, it never did at Eclipse, but the entire bar section went silent. People backed away. Even the bartender next to Zara froze mid-pour. Touch her again, Min-jun said quietly. I will break every bone in your hand. Then I'll move to your arms, then your legs, and you'll be awake for all of it. Sung-ho's eyes went wide. He'd been acting drunk, but the fear was real now, because everyone knew when Min-jun made threats, they weren't threats, they were promises. Security finally moved, not to stop Min-jun, but to grab Sung-ho the moment his boss released him. Out, Min-jun said. Don't come back. They dragged Sung-ho toward the exit. The man didn't protest. Smart choice. Min-jun turned to Zara, still riding the adrenaline, ready to see relief or gratitude or fear or something in her eyes. She was restocking beer bottles, hadn't even watched the confrontation. Are you okay? His voice came out rougher than he intended. I'm fine. She set down a Corona, reached for a Heineken. Thank you. Still didn't look at him. Min-jun stood there, pulse hammering, the entire bar watching this interaction, and she was acting like he'd just told her the weather forecast. He grabbed you. I've handled worse. Another bottle. Her hands were steady now, or trying to be. Really, I appreciated Mr. Kang, but I had the situation under control. She absolutely hadn't, but that wasn't the point. The point was that he'd just publicly defended her, had put his hands on someone in front of dozens of witnesses, had made it crystal clear that she was under his protection, and she was restocking beer bottles like nothing had happened. Except there, her hand shook slightly as she poured a rum and coke for a waiting customer. Just a tremor, gone in a second. She was affected. She just couldn't show it. Wouldn't show it. Min-jun backed away slowly, returned to the VIP section where Ji-hoo was pretending very hard not to have opinions about what just happened. That wasn't about testing her, Ji-hoo said quietly. No, Min-jun admitted, watching her work. It wasn't. The Mercedes glided through Seoul's late-night streets, streetlights strobing across the windshield in rhythmic flashes. Min-jun sat in the back, tie loosened, knuckles still aching from how hard he'd gripped Sung-ho's throat. Ji-woo drove in silence for 10 minutes before speaking. She's different. Min-jun didn't pretend not to know who he meant. Yes. Not like the others who want your attention or the ones who fear you. She's terrified. Min-jun finished, watching the city blur past. I know. Of you? I don't think so, not specifically. He rubbed his temples. Of being seen. You were right earlier. Whoever she's running from, whoever she testified against, they taught her that visibility equals death, so she made herself invisible. And then you came along. And then I came along. Min-jun echoed bitterly, the most visible man in Seoul, sitting at her bar, watching her, making everyone else watch her too. Ji-woo navigated a turn, considering his next words carefully. You could let her go, transfer her to another club, another city, give her the invisibility she wants. I could, but you won't. No. Why? The question hung there. They passed 3 more streetlights before Min-jun answered. Because everyone else does. Look at me, I mean, everyone. The women who want me, they see money and power and danger, and they want a piece of it. The men who fear me, they see a threat, a predator, someone to avoid or appease. Even you, Ji-woo, you see your boss, your employer, the man who signs your checks and could end your life if you wanted. With respect, boss, that's literally what you are. I know, and it's fine. It's useful. Fear keeps people in line. Desire keeps them predictable. Min-jun leaned forward, elbows on his knees. But her, if she looked at me, really looked, really saw me, it wouldn't be because she had to. It wouldn't be because she wanted something or feared something. It would be because she chose to. Ji-woo glanced in the rearview mirror. You want her to choose you? I want her to see me as a person, not a threat, not an opportunity, not a boss, just... He trailed off, searching for words he'd never needed before. Just me. Boss? What? You're in love with her. Min-jun's laugh was sharp and humorless. I don't even know her. Not really. Don't know her favorite color or her real name or where she's actually from. I've never heard her real laugh or seen her genuine smile, not the professional one she gives customers. I don't know what makes her happy or what she dreams about or... That's not a no. The silence stretched. Outside, Seoul slept and dreamed and lived its life. Inside the car, Min-jun felt something crack in his chest. I've built an empire on taking what I want, he said quietly. Identified a goal, calculated the path, executed the plan. It's simple, effective. I've never failed. Until now, because this isn't something I can take. I can make her look at me, threaten her job, corner her, force proximity. But that's not what I want. I don't want her fear. I don't want her obligation. He looked at his hands, hands that had killed, that had built kingdoms, that couldn't make one woman see him. I want her to choose to see me, and I have no idea how to make that happen. You can't make it happen.
That's the point. Then what do I do? Ji-woo pulled up to Min-jun's building, put the car in park, turned to face his boss fully. You show her she's safe, that being seen by you won't destroy her, that you're not another threat to hide from. He paused. But boss, that means becoming someone worth being seen by, and I don't know if you're ready for that. Min-jun got out without answering, but as he rode the elevator to his penthouse, alone with his reflection in the mirrored walls, he wondered if Ji-woo was right. Maybe the problem wasn't that Zarah wouldn't see him. Maybe the problem was what she'd see if she did. 2:47 a.m. Eclipse was a graveyard of empty glasses and silence. The cleaning crew had finished an hour ago. The other bartenders had clocked out. Even the ever-present security had retreated to the perimeter. Just Zarah and her closing duties, counting the register, organizing bottles, wiping down surfaces that were already clean. She liked this part, the quiet, the solitude, the feeling of being completely and blessedly alone. Except she wasn't. Min-jun emerged from the shadows near his office like a ghost materializing. He didn't announce himself, just pulled out a bar stool and sat. Zara's hands stilled at the register for half a second, then she continued counting. 340, 360, 380. Silence. He watched her. She counted. 5 full minutes passed. The only sounds were her quiet murmurings and the distant hum of refrigeration units. 400 even. She wrote it down, moved to the second register, started again. 20, 40, 60. Why won't you look at me? Her counting didn't stop. I don't understand what you mean, Mr. Kang. Yes, you do. Everyone in this city looks at me. Everyone, except you. I'm your employee. I'm being respectful. 80, 100. Respectful would be meeting someone's eyes when they speak to you. 120, 140. His hands slammed down on the bar, not violent, desperate. The sound echoed through the empty club. Zarah finally stopped counting, but she still didn't turn. I need you to look at me, his voice cracked on the last word. Please. Her knuckles went white, gripping the edge of the counter. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. I can't. Can't or won't? Long pause. Her shoulders rose and fell with a shaky breath. Then she started telling him everything. Min-jun stood frozen, afraid that moving would make her stop. She continued. Finally turned, and the motion was so sudden he almost stepped back, but her eyes looked past him, through him, at the wall of bottles behind his head. That's not even my real name. Zara Williams? It's pretty, I guess. Forgettable. I've had 3 names in 7 years, and sometimes I can't remember which one was real, if any of them were. Zarah. I was taught to look at nothing, to see nothing, to be nothing. She was shaking now, barely holding it together. Because nothing can't be hurt, nothing can't be found, nothing survives. Min-jun took a step closer. You're not nothing. No, she met where his eyes should be, so close but still not quite there. But when I look at you, Mr. Kang, when I try to really see you, she drew a breath, exhaled 3 words that landed like bullets. I see nothing. The silence that followed was devastating. Complete negation. Not fear, not hatred, not even indifference. Just nothing. He didn't exist in her world because she couldn't afford for him to exist. I quit. She grabbed her bag from under the bar with shaking hands. I'll collect my final check tomorrow. Zarah, wait!
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kang. I hope you find a suitable replacement. She walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the empty club. She didn't run, didn't look back, just walked away with that same professional composure she'd had for 3 months. The door closed behind her. Min-jun stood alone in the vast empty space. Harsh overhead lights, abandoned glasses, the ghost of music that had stopped hours ago. For the first time in his adult life, Kang Min-jun, who'd built an empire on fear and respect, who'd never been told no, who'd never failed at anything, felt completely, utterly powerless. She'd looked at him and seen nothing. And somehow, that was worse than if she'd seen a monster. 4 a.m. Min-jun's penthouse was all glass and steel and had views of a city that never truly slept. He sat in the dark, still in his clothes from the club, a glass of whiskey in his hand that he'd poured 2 hours ago and hadn't touched. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Buzzed again and again. Finally, he looked. 12 missed calls from GU, 3 texts. Boss, I'm coming up. Don't do anything stupid. I'm in the lobby. Security's letting me up. The elevator dinged. GU walked in without bothering with pleasantries, took one look at his boss sitting in the dark like a ghost and sighed. She quit. I know, GU said quietly. Security footage. I saw it. She said she sees nothing when she looks at me. Min-jun's voice was hollow. Not, I don't want to look. Not, I'm afraid to look. She literally sees nothing, like I don't exist. She's protecting herself. You know that now. Min-jun finally moved, setting down the untouched whiskey and standing to face the floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul sprawled below, glittering and alive, and his. I've killed men, GU, destroyed empires, built kingdoms from blood and ash. I've made politicians kneel and competitors disappear and enemies beg. He pressed his palm against the cold glass. And I can't make one woman look at me. Maybe that's the problem. What? You can't make her. You can't force it or buy it or threaten it into existence. She has to want to. And right now, wanting means dying. In her world, being seen equals being dead. Then what do I do? GU moved to stand beside his boss, both of them looking out at the city. Show her she's safe, that being seen by you won't destroy her, that you're not another threat. What if I am? Min-jun turned to face him. What if I'm exactly what she should be afraid of? I'm a criminal, GU. I hurt people for a living. My enemies would love to find a weakness, and if they know about her, then let her go. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Min-jun's jaw set. That muscle ticked, the one that appeared before he made decisions that changed everything. No. Boss, no. I've never wanted anything more in my entire life, and I always get what I want. This is different. I know. Min-jun's voice dropped, dangerous and determined. That's exactly why I'm going to do this right. Not as a conqueror, as a protector. She doesn't have to look at me. She doesn't have to want me, but she's not running anymore. Not from her past, not from me, not from anything. GU recognized that tone. It was the same one Min-jun used before going to war. What are you planning? Everything. 6 a.m. Dawn crept through Zara's tiny apartment windows like an unwelcome guest. She hadn't slept, just sat on her second-hand couch, packed bag at her feet, waiting for sunrise so she could disappear. Again. A knock at the door made her freeze. No one knew where she lived, no one except Eclipse HR department, and they wouldn't come here, wouldn't care that she'd quit. Another knock. She approached the door slowly, checked the peephole. Empty hallway. Carefully, she opened the door. Nothing. No one.
just an envelope on her doormat. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Expensive paper, heavyweight, the kind that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Inside, her resignation letter, but stamped across it in red ink, rejected. And beneath it a note in sharp, masculine handwriting. You don't have to look at me, but you're not running from me. Not anymore. MJ. The paper slipped from her fingers. She stumbled to the window, looked down at the street 4 stories below. A black Mercedes, tinted windows, idling at the curb where no car should be at 6 a.m. She couldn't see inside, but she knew with every survival instinct she'd honed over 7 years that he was in there, watching, waiting. She pressed her forehead against the glass, eyes squeezed shut. "What have you done?" she whispered to the empty apartment, because she understood now he wasn't letting her go, and his protection, his attention, was a spotlight in the darkness she'd been hiding in. If anyone from her past was looking, they'd see her now. But worse, so much worse, was the tiny, terrified, traitorous part of her heart that whispered, maybe being seen wouldn't be so bad. Not by him. Down on the street, Min-jun sat perfectly still in the back of his Mercedes, watching her window, watching her shadow against the curtain. She didn't know it yet, but he'd already made calls, already set things in motion. By the time the sun fully rose, every intelligence contact he had would be searching for information on her. Every security team he employed would be watching her building. Every resource at his disposal would be deployed to keep her safe, whether she wanted it or not. Ji-Yu's voice came through the car's speaker. "Boss, we've got movement. Flight records show a Viktor Volkov landed in Seoul 2 days ago. Russian mob. That name mean anything?" Min-jun's blood went cold.
Dear gentle viewer, this creator really, really appreciates your support and loves you so much. Before you go, do me a few favors. Hit that like button if Min-jun's obsession gave you chills. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. And here's the real question. Who do you think Viktor Volkov is? Is he from Zara's past or Min-jun's? I want to hear your theories. Seriously, the best guess gets a shout out in part 2. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications because part 2 is coming soon. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Someone's world is about to burn. Will it be hers, his, or both? Find out in part 2.